No price talk and no Lambos. This is not another crypto podcast. Welcome to Ignition. I'm your host, Jillian, and each week we will be looking at the problems solved by blockchain. I'll be going deep with the people building the apps and communities which are changing the world around us.
Good morning, and welcome to the EOS Dublin podcast called Ignition with me, Jillian. Now, today I have on the line an amazing woman called Jess Houlgrave. I think you might know her already if you're in the EOS community. And if not, if you're in the wider blockchain community, I think you might have heard of her anyway. She is the co-founder of SHEOS, the female-only block producer. She's also the co-founder of the Codex Protocol and a founder of the Art in Blockchain. So there are three pretty impressive things. Welcome to the show, Jess.
Thanks, Jillian, for having me. It's great to be here today.
That's amazing. So you have an economics degree, you worked in finance, but you also have a master's degree in blockchain in the arts. Am I right?
I do, yes. So my first degree, when I left school, I went to Oxford, did a degree in economics and management. Went after that into the city. I worked at Credit Suisse in their UK investment banking team for some time. And then I joined a pension fund and managed their European private equity investment portfolio. So a very kind of traditional finance path. But I have a huge personal love for the arts. I wish I was more creative personally, but I have a lot of friends who are artists and have always just had a very, very strong interest in art. And so in 2016, I actually ended up doing another master's in art business, where I wrote my dissertation on the applications of blockchain for the art world.
That's amazing. I love that. So did you have a master's prior to that as well already? Yeah,
so my economics degree is also a master's degree.
Yeah, excellent. Because it's interesting now, because nowadays everybody does a master's after their BA. Isn't that funny? Like a Bachelor of Arts or whatever, the primary degree used to be enough, and now everyone does the master's. So you've gone one step further and you've actually specialized. What was the thrust of your thesis with the blockchain and the art? Do you have any conclusions or?
Well, so when I was writing, this was 2016 and the first part of 2017. Mm-hmm. So quite a while ago now in terms of applications that we're seeing develop of blockchain. But I knew at the time that it was going to be very, very relevant. And already we were seeing numerous projects being established. And the research really focused on the variety of use cases that there were. And I found that there were actually about 13 different kind of applications. And those varied from artists using blockchain as a medium to create works, through to cryptocurrencies as a payment technology within the art world, which of course is very global and cross-border. And so payments is a big feature of the art market, all the way through to proving authenticity and title and provenance using blockchain. And of course, hot topic, kind of this idea of fractionalization and securitization of artworks. So the gist of the research was really to show the variety of different applications and what was already being done at that time, and then speaking with stakeholders within the art world, so artists and galleries and insurance companies and auction houses, to see and try and analyze the kind of the potential impact of this kind of technology on their business.
Wow. You actually touching on quite a few important things: provenance, tokenization, payments, taking out the middleman. The art world is crying for it, isn't it? I mean, it's crying out for blockchain.
Yes, I think it's actually a very, very obvious industry that this technology can have a big impact in. And that's for a number of reasons. The art world is often quite opaque. We don't necessarily know where things come from, where things move. And there's a lot of demand within the industry for some sort of self-regulation. There is an awareness that, there's a high level of fakes and forgeries within the art world and a desire to kind of clean up that industry from within. And of course, the art world, we're talking about physical assets that move around, that change ownership, that have, different experiences. They are insured, they might be damaged, they might be restored, they go on exhibition. And all of these things that happen to them across their life are a really valuable part of their history in terms of analyzing what they are, where they are, and of course, from a market perspective, what they're worth. And so this kind of data, it lends itself very well to blockchain being used in a solution for that.
It's amazing. And the other side too, as well, I guess, is that you used the word opaque at the start, and you mentioned that in reference to provenance and moving physical pieces of art. It's also quite opaque, isn't it, in terms of young artists trying to come through, because unless it's very hard to break through in this area and to access an audience, and blockchain can perhaps help people do that more easily.
Yes, absolutely. The art world has these very traditional structures where historically, as a young artist, you would leave art school, look for gallery representation in a sort of first tier gallery, and move your way up through the kind of brand names of galleries in an ideal world until eventually you get a couple of pieces in a public museum, and you kind of reach the pinnacle of an artist's career. And actually over the last 20 years we've seen that change quite a lot. The advent of the internet has brought around a lot of changes. Artists have been able to market themselves using social media. So there's very, very few artists out there right now who don't have an Instagram account and a Twitter account, who are kind of self-promoting, which historically artists didn't really do. And we've seen new ways of selling art. So building up, their own group of patrons, not necessarily through a gallery, selling direct to collectors, often through social media or through the internet, the rise of sort of artist-focused art fairs. And so we're seeing a lot of artists kind of break the mold a little bit and try to find alternative ways of not only selling work, but funding their artistic practice and building a sustainable body of collectors who can support them. And blockchain can definitely play a role in that, not only in the sense of, as an artist, being able to provide a sort of concept of certificate of authenticity to a collector, which is in high demand right now, and blockchain can help you do that. But blockchain can also do some really creative things in terms of how we fund artists, how we collect work. And there's some really innovative things that people are doing right now, which I think over the coming years will really impact how artists work.
Wow. So in that role, so you did your master's, but you're involved with two organizations that are involved with art and the blockchain. Tell me about the first one. You're a founder of the Art in Blockchain. What does that do?
Yeah, so the Foundation for Art and Blockchain, we established in May of 2018. And the Foundation's mission is to support artists who are working at the intersection of blockchain and art. And that typically takes on two forms. One is artists who are actually using blockchain as a medium. So they're using the technology to create artworks.
How does that work? That sounds fascinating.
Well, often they are programming smart contracts or creating their own tokens, which are then used as kind of part of an artistic experiment. There are some great artists who are, actually programming and coding, and what they're coding is an artwork in and of itself. A really good early example is Sarah Miohas, who in 2015, I think, created the Bitcoin, which was her own digital currency that she programmed, issued to collectors, that was then redeemable for physical works. Obviously also a kind of commentary on the male domination of Bitcoin. And so that in and of itself was a piece of artwork. And so we have these very experimental artists who are using blockchain as a technology to actually create work.
Wow.
And then the second kind of area that it touches is artists who are producing work that might be in a more traditional medium, painting or drawing or digital artwork, but that is a commentary on blockchain. It explores either the culture of blockchain or the technology or the social impact that blockchain might be having. And I think these two pieces combined are really important because artists have often played a very critical role in the development of new technologies. They've explored it bring different perspectives to the development of those technologies. And blockchain is no different. And I think this diversity of perspective and having artists critique and be involved with the development of this kind of technology is really beneficial to the ecosystem.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And do you know what it makes me want to do? I actually recently bought some paints. I'm going to paint some blockchain pictures.
Yeah, amazing.
I want to be an artist. Wow. And then tell me, you're also involved in a second art project, the Codex Protocol. What is that?
Yeah, so the Codex Protocol, I joined in September 2017. It's a project which is really focused on the market side of the art world. So we have several partners, auction software companies, asset-backed lending companies, and the focus is really on building a digital trail of provenance and using blockchain as the underlying technology to facilitate that. So we allow both artists and institutions within the art world to effectively create a non-fungible token. It's built on Ethereum, so an ERC 721, which kind of represents an artwork. And that artwork could be physical or could be digital. But over time, that non-fungible token is used to document the history and the provenance of that artwork. So you can imagine an artist creating it in the first place, sending the NFT to the first collector. That collector might then add more documentation, say if the artwork was displayed in an exhibition, those exhibition notes would be added. And over time, you can build up a kind of trusted record of data relating to that artwork. And that's what we call provenance. And it's a huge factor within the art world when we look at the history and authenticity and risk associated with artworks.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So actually, they're two quite different projects, but both art at the center. Do you actually paint? Doesn't need to, Jess. What do you do? What kind of artist are you?
I wish I could call myself an artist, although I am a believer that everybody has an artist somewhere hidden inside.
Yes, I know. It's like everyone can sing. It is an indisputable fact. Everybody can sing. Maybe some more beautifully than others. So if you were to create art, what kind of art would you create?
Well, I used to really enjoy drawing, ink drawing, and particularly cityscapes and kind of architectural buildings. So I have a few pieces that I've done that are up on the walls in my house.
Will you send me a picture of one of them?
I will, but you can't share it with anyone.
Oh, no, because I read that you like doing like architectural drawings and like Georgian or antique architecture. That kind of interests you.
Yeah, I will. Well, I'll send you one. You can be the judge of whether it's worth sharing or not.
I'm sure it's very beautiful. I'm sure it is.
Aside from that, I really love old maps, and so I collect lovely old maps, often of places that I've been, and so that's sort of my niche.
What do you do with them? Do you frame them, or do you just have them on the coffee table? What do you do with your collection?
A lot of them are on the wall. They are a kind of nice reminder, often not only of the places that I've been, but I love this idea that a lot of them are wrong because they were created, before we had very sophisticated mapping technologies, and so they kind of represent for me the frontier of human knowledge at a particular point in time. That's what, at that point in time when that map was being created, that was everything that we knew, and over time that changes and we learn more things, and I love that reminder that we don't know everything right now. There's still stuff that can be learned and can change. So a lot of them are on my wall, and I take great satisfaction in looking at them.
I think I like the sound of your house. What's interesting is, you think there are frontiers we don't know. People often think about space. The oceans, we haven't a clue what half is in our oceans. There's so much of this earth we have yet to explore. So I love the idea of those maps being a permanent reminder of that there are frontiers all around us. And in your case, with technology. So going back to technology again, you are also a co-founder of SHEOS. Tell me about that.
So SHEOS is a block producer candidate on the EOS network. As the name indicates, we are founded by a group of women, 10 founders, in fact, who came together early last year prior to the EOS mainnet launch. And a lot of us had been involved with EOS. And as we could see these other block producers announcing their candidacy, what became very obvious was a distinct lack of women. Mm-hmm. And as women who, many of us were already working in the crypto space, already had a strong involvement in the blockchain industry, we felt it was really important that there was a sort of female representation in the EOS ecosystem too. And so we established EOS, and we are fortunate enough to have not only 10 great founders, but a series of other members who've become involved with the project over time. And our mission is really to increase the accessibility of blockchain and specifically EOS to women, increase diversity and inclusion. And we do that in a number of ways. We have a program which helps support women's kind of scholarships for girls learning to code. So we have some great partnerships with institutions who are teaching young girls how to code. That's sort of the first stage. We run events for women, particularly the Cybercode twins, who are members of SHEOS, and our CTO, Ben Sigmund, are fantastic and run some great developer workshops for people who are learning to code. And we run events and create content that hopefully makes women feel comfortable. And I think a big part of a lack of women in the space is not that they want to get involved, but maybe they don't know how. And so we try to position SHEOS as a route into the industry for people.
Yeah, well, you and I are very much aligned on this particular cause, the women in technology. There's not enough. And we were both at an event in London last week, and I hadn't met you at that stage. What was funny was that it was a packed event. We heard many exciting things in the blockchain area, and the first female voice was mine, and mine was the last question of the night. And then you happened to be in the audience, and you were able to answer it. But that was very telling, wasn't it? And it wasn't all men. There were maybe 10% women, but we had no female voices until the very end. And that's wrong, because if you don't have women, and you said it yourself when you responded to my question, if we don't see women there, how can people aspire to women there? You have to follow what you see, what is familiar. And if all you see is men leading the show, women are not going to step up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the things that I mentioned then was this idea that if we can't see people who look like us, then how do we have a vision of what we can become? And I think having strong female role models and visibility of female role models is a really important factor in terms of bringing more people into the space.
And I love the fact that you speaking, you have a very strong financial background. You've worked in traditional financial systems, which is a natural, if you have an interest, jump into blockchain and cryptocurrency. But you're also very interested in art. And that is nice, because when people think to become involved in blockchain, you're a nerdy geek. And you're not a nerdy geek at all. You're a very glamorous woman who loves art and maps and stuff like that. So you're a great advocate for all women can join this area. You don't have to be the programmer.
Absolutely. I think blockchain has now reached a scale where there is need for all kinds of skills and interests and perspectives and ideas. It's not just about building a particular product from a technical perspective, nor is it just about marketing something. There are so many different skills that this industry needs right now. And so, whatever your interests, there is a role for you, I think.
I think it's amazing. Well, Jess, thank you so much for your time. I love the fact that you are pioneering in so many different areas, especially the women. And again, we're not anti-men, but we need women too as well. There's like 4% women, I think, involved in the industry, and it needs to be at least 50%. I think there's 51% women in the world, so maybe 51%. But thank you so much for your time today. And I encourage people to go and look, especially that Foundation for Art Blockchain. That sounds fascinating. I'm going to get my paints out. I'm going to apply.
Go and create something. Unlock that creative part of your brain. I think I always find when I do something creative, actually, a lot of other things in my brain become clearer too. So I think it's, I encourage people to go and unlock that.
I'm going to do that. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We've been chatting with Jess Houlgrave, who is the co-founder of SHEOS, co-founder of the Codex Protocol, and founder of the Foundation for Art and Blockchain. Thank you so much indeed, Jess.
Jill, thank you very much for having me.